The Vikings hold on for a victory. Hello, everybody. Terry Bennett here on the Lago Vista Football Show, right here on S2S Sports, part of L4 Media. As Lago Vista outlasts Taylor 29-22 in a game that was kind of a tale of two halves. That first half for Lago Vista defensively doing such a good job that Taylor made a quarterback change at halftime and almost brought the Ducks back. But the Vikings hold on, get their second win of the season, move to 2-1 this week. Last non-district game of the season as the Vikings will travel to Marion to take on the Bulldogs, a team that's a hard team to read, to be honest with you. They're a 3A team, if you didn't know. So far on the year, they're 1-2 with a tough loss to Stockdale and kind of a shootout, 34-28. But since then, the Bulldog defense has really tightened down as they only gave up 6 to New Braunfels Long Creek in their victory. And then last week they got beat by Gonzales 23-6, but they kind of got wore down. Gonzales, heavy running team, and that's what they like to do. And Marion played very well early defensively. I think this is a good final non-district matchup for the Vikings. This is a good chance to play a team that has some size. They got a big offensive lineman, and they're pretty big up front, and they have what we always talk about on sideline-to-sideline basketball height, which can be really advantageous on the football field as well. Want to remind you, since this is a road game, if you can't make the game but you still want to watch, all you got to do is go to HudlTV. Type in www.fan.hudl.com, search for Lago Vista, and you can find the broadcast for tonight's game. Yes, tonight. I'm actually recording this on a Friday. By the way, thanks to Coach Phillips for having to move the schedule around this week. I apologize for it being so late. We'll be back to the normal time next week. Also, speaking of, this is going to be kind of cool. So I do a sideline-to-sideline show that covers the state each and every week. We do a show for 4A, for 3A, and for 2A. And my co-host, Grant Goodwin, as goofy as this sounds, he got married during football season. And so he is on anniversary leave for the show this week. And so normally when we do that, or that week of the season, I do just a show. It's one show instead of 3 for the week. And I'll just kind of interview multiple people across the state. And we'll talk a little bit about their football program, talk about a little about them, especially if it's a coach. Well, Coach Creighton Phillips is going to join me on that show. So that'll be awesome. It'll be a video show, so you'll be able to see that on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. I will post the times. And if you don't know, if you listen to this show and you find it through other means, you can find L4 Media and Sideline to Sideline on Facebook. Just type in Sideline to Sideline. We post all the shows that we do. We also just post information that we get from schools and things like that, and we just have a lot of fun over there. You can also follow us on Twitter at Grant and Terry. But anyway, so go back to what we were talking about. So you can watch the broadcast. Now, there's a fee, $8 for a single broadcast, $15 for the monthly subscription, and $70 for the yearly. Now, the way I would do it if I was you, if you're going to watch a lot of Lago Vista sports this season, because it's not just football, it's volleyball, it's basketball, it's baseball, softball, I would do the $75. You're going to get your best value out of that. If you want to just watch the football season, I would do the $15, or if you want to just watch any of the other seasons. And then if this is just a one-time thing, hey, I can't make it to Marion tonight, I'll just want to watch one game, you've got the single broadcast offer at $8. Again, that's fan.hudl.com. All right, we're going to take a break. When we come back, gets the head coach of the Vikings, Coach Creighton Phillips, right here on the Lago Vista Football Show. Here at L4 Media, we talk high school football, 4A, 3A, and 2A in Texas. We talk East Texas sports. We talk NFL, guy talk, movie. We also talk wrestling and so much more. And you can see it all on our YouTube channel at L4 Media Company. Like and subscribe. Terry Bennett back here on the Lago Vista Football Show. Now joined by the head coach of the Vikings, Coach Creighton Phillips. Coach, congratulations. Another tough win as you bounce back from that loss against Waco Connolly. You beat Taylor 29-22. This was an interesting game because they made a quarterback switch right in the middle of it. What were your thoughts on the win?
Yeah, I thought it wasn't at all times pretty. You know, there were some things that were clicking and going well for us. I thought we were doing a good job defensively, especially against the run early in the game. And, you know, they put the big quarterback in the second half, which we were kind of expecting most of the game because he'd had pretty good success in what we'd seen ahead of time. So he came out there and threw the ball around a little bit and presented some challenges for us. But I was proud of the kids for, you know, staying with it, battling, and getting the win.
You know, you always hear when you're watching a broadcast and they'll talk about, especially like if there's a quarterback that's hurt, the team has to prepare for two quarterbacks this week. As a coach, how tough is it to do that when you know you're going to play a team that might have different quarterbacks, especially if they have differing styles?
Right. It's definitely a time challenge. If you have one particular offensive ideology with this quarterback and a different one with the other quarterback, then you're really you have to cut your time in half. Or, there'll be some overlap. Obviously, they can't run completely two different offenses. That'd be tough on them. But the things that they like to do with this kid in, the things they like to do with the other kid in, certainly cuts your time down on how much time you get to spend on each. And, of course, that's an effective way to attack people at times if that's something that if you can execute at that level.
You bring up a good point. I think people have this misconception, and maybe it's because of the NFL and college, that high school coaching, like that, y'all have, just hours and hours per day with practice and preparation and stuff. But the window that y'all actually get to do that each day is not as big as what people think.
No, UIL limits you to 8 hours outside of the school day each week in order to practice and get that in. And, these kids are not professional football players. They're going to high school. They're playing video games. They're hanging out with their friends. They're doing a lot of other things. And football is part of their life, but it's not the only thing in their life. So, you want them to have a great experience, and that's part of our challenge as coaches is to support that and have these guys really enjoy their time here with us, and then also prepare and win, because winning is fun.
Well, and you bring up the point about the hours outside of classroom and stuff, and that's why, in my opinion, and almost every school does it now, but especially the good schools, they have that athletic period so where y'all can do more prep inside the school day.
Yeah, there's the challenge is getting prepared, mm-hmm. right, and also resting your legs. And so the amount of work you put in early in the week typically tapers down towards the end of the week, and then you have the added challenge of how much time are you going to spend in one practice? Are you going to spend 3 hours on Monday and 3 hours on Tuesday? Because there's a point where you start getting diminishing returns, right? You start losing focus, or you're too tired, or you're killing your legs. And so there's some balance there. And I think we try to do a good job with that, with taking care of the kids, their legs, so that they're fresh on Friday. And we've spent enough time to prepare for each team each week,
Are you a coach that during the regular season, are y'all still very physical in your practices, or do you try to pull back because, as you're saying, you're trying to save not only legs but just not have injuries in practice and such?
Right, and that it happens. We have to be physical at times. We're certainly not these days maybe what we were in the past. We like to think smarter about it. Mm-hmm. We still have to have full contact days, and, you have to practice getting people to the ground. And so we try to make those as controlled as possible so that people don't get injured in practice. But, we're a lot of talking and walking on Mondays. Tuesday's a little more physical. Wednesday we have, we call it full tilt boogie, where, it's live to the whistle. So, and it's good on good. We practice varsity on varsity and freshmen on JV, and let those guys, really try to get a good look, and at the point where you should be mentally ready to execute plays and stunts and coverages, then to actually get a live look at doing it and get your feet where you're supposed to be. So that's kind of our method. And then Thursday is pretty much completely backed off. We don't hit anybody or touch anybody on Thursdays.
Well, and that goes back to what we were talking about. Like you're preparing for a quarterback, and you possibly might have two quarterbacks you're preparing for. And as you talk about, you varsity on varsity, JV on ninth, it's not like you have this endless supply of kids to run scout teams so that you can give your varsity good looks.
Right. No, it's in order to get the best look, we have to use our varsity to go against our varsity, which means you've got offensive starters that are running scout team for the defense, and you've got defensive starters that are running scout team for the offense. So that's another thing that we have to mitigate their legs, right? How much we're burning them up throughout the week in practice. So we try to spell them the best we can, but we're also trying to get the best look possible. So it's something to manage each week.
Well, we've talked so much about the defense. Let's talk about the offense. So far this year, you've scored at least 23 points in every game. What are your thoughts on the progression of your offense this year?
I feel like I hope, let's say this, I hope we're on the brink. I hope we're about to push over an edge of being really dynamic and really explosive. I think we've certainly had some highlights. We've had some things pop for us. Some things that we thought we were going to be good at have hit some. It just hasn't been as consistent as we'd like. We're still, it's early season. We're figuring out what is it that we're good at. There's things you go into the season thinking that you're going to be good at and you're going to be able to hang your hat on, and then through trial and error in the preseason, you really start to hone that in. I think we're about to, cut some of the fluff and really figure out the meat and potatoes of what it is that we can depend on each and every week. I think Tripp is doing a good job at quarterback of, seeing the reads and understanding. And we've had lots of teachable moments in the first 3 weeks of how we're going to do this better the next time around. Our receivers are understanding spacing better. And, the offensive line keeps getting better and better each week. So I feel like we're at the precipice, right? We're about to come over the top and really start being explosive.
And the perfect time, as this week's your last non-district game. You're taking on a Marion team. What are your thoughts on the Bulldogs?
I think they're a physical team. They're very rangy. Overall, a fairly tall team, which helps them cover ground. Extended arms, get off of blocks, that kind of stuff. They play pretty aggressively in their front defensively, and they're kind of aggressive up front and soft in the back. So they don't want you to get behind them, and they're going to give you as much pressure as possible. And so you just, you got to pick your battles and try to win where you can. Offensively, they got a couple of kids that can really go. Very athletic, very shifty. They do a good job of moving their top players around a little bit in a lot of different formations and situations to get them the ball creatively. So, it's going to be a challenge to keep an eye on who's where and keep them all bundled up.
When you're on the week before your district and you start district play next week at Salado, in your mind, do you ever worry about like injuries or anything like that? And I know that's a thing you can worry about through any part of the season, but I've had coach tell me that, almost superstitiously, they always kind of fear that last non-district game. It's a big bad thing can happen at the worst possible time.
Well, I wish you wouldn't have put that in my head because I've never thought about that before.
Oh, wow, my bad.
No, I mean, we're coming out here to play. It's this district game, but it's still for us. It's like any other week, really. It's not a must win, but it's one we definitely want to win. We want to prepare to win each week. We want to prepare to be successful in each of our situations. We want to clean up things that need to be worked on from the week before. We want to progress a little bit offensively and defensively each week. Certainly, if we get a score that there's an imbalance, we might sub a little bit earlier the week before district or in any district game, really, to try to preserve starters where we can and manage the team the best that we can.
Do you have a kid that plays sports? Are you yourself a weekend warrior? Then I'm going to tell you something. Check out NeuroGuardPlus.com. That's NEURO GuardPlus.com. It's a mouthpiece that can not only help with concussions, but can dramatically affect the way you perform. And the mission of NeuroGuard is to, of course, reduce the risk of suffering a concussion when participating in any contact sport, military, anything that you're doing physical that you could take a blow to the head. You might want to put in a NeuroGuard mouth guard. And as I said, it not only helps eliminate concussions, it helps you perform better by simply aligning your jaw properly. And that sounds like such a simple thing, but it is so important because it allows oxygen to get to your brain. And when you get oxygen to the brain, you don't have that fog of sports or that fog of war where you get confused. And if you've ever played football, that's a sport where that can happen. Especially, man, you're in there in the trenches and you take a shot to the side and all of a sudden things are spinning. This mouth guard will help you keep focus by, again, simply keeping oxygen going to your brain 100%. Again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com. And if you play sports, if you have a kid that plays sport, if you do something physical, one of the things that Dr. Hutchinson, the creator of this, was talking about was some people will use it when they're doing yard work and when they're mowing and things like that, where they're being physically active because they know it helps align their jaw and it keeps oxygen going to the brain, which also helps your lungs, by the way, when you can have full breath every time as you're performing. So again, check them out, NeuroGuardPlus.com.
Hi, I'm Josh Bell with the Miami Marlins. I wear NeuroGuard to help with strength and coordination when I'm in the weight room and to help with balance when I'm on the baseball.
Terry Bennett back here on the Lago Vista Football Show. I want to thank Coach Phillips for joining us as he does each and every week. If you have any questions, thoughts, or comments for him for the show, for Sideline to Sideline, just email them to me, Terry at S2SSport.com. I will put more information up on what day our special Sideline to Sideline show is going to come out, as Coach Phillips is going to be a part of that. And it's going to be talking a little bit about Lago Vista, but it's also going to be talking about, him as a coach, kind of where he came from, talking about his coaching influences, all that kind of fun stuff, kind of getting past just head coach of Lago Vista and how Lago Vista is. But we will talk about the Vikings as well and his time in Lago Vista. All right, last game before district play, man, it gets here that quick, especially when you have a district that you start district play this early. That means next week, man, the games count. I think it's going to be a fun district season. I had a chance to see Wimberley against LBJ last week. Wimberley's Wimberley, but man, LBJ, they are really, really good. And I'll tell you right now, that was a beautiful team to watch as far as just how they executed and their schemes and everything. And Wimberley struggled, and Wimberley's going to always struggle, or not always, but Wimberley's going to struggle when they play athletic teams like LBJ. I also think the issue with Wimberley is they're still trying to figure out who's going to replace Noah Birdsong at wide receiver, because as great as Cody Stover is at moving and scrambling, and he's one of the best, he struggles with his throwing to be consistent. But when you had a target like Noah Birdsong, who was 6'5", who was athletic, who could catch, he cleaned out a bunch of mistakes. At least right now they don't have that. And so it'll be interesting to see if Wimberley can find that. As we'll talk about all that next week, right here on the Lago Vista Football Show on L4 Media.